The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
All right, folks, welcome to another fast ride at CCN. And no, this is not your mother's TV station. This is your daddy's. And folks, this is where truth is spoken. You'll never hear this in the mainstream media. I repeat this pretty much on the front of every call I do. Folks, it's time to pull the curtain back because they are causing duress across the planet, the corporations, and it's time to change this construct that they've got us stuck in. Anyways, I've got special guest Barbara Filippone. She's my hemp textiles queen across the planet. Had the pleasure to meet her in the physical the 26th of last November. I actually remember the date as I was trying to catch a train to California. Anyways, Barbara, a lot has happened on this planet. A lot has happened on this planet, and now we got the chemical compromisation in textiles on a whole new level. But today, folks, we're going to talk about the agricultural side of the spectrum. And most of these folks in USA Inc. don't even know how to grow hemp, let alone sell it. Anyways, on that note, Barbara, I'm going to open the door. This is Barbara's third tour with Brother Peter over at CCN. And I will post all the other shows that from after we get this one done for everybody's consumption so they can understand what is going on this planet and what we can do to change it, because we are about solutions for the planet. Anyways, Barbara, with that note, I'm going to open the door. And yeah, you said you want to talk a little bit about the agricultural side of this context.
Yes, immigration, agriculture, biofuels, and how it is now working its way into our textiles. We're all very conscious. I'm getting a little feedback here.
Okay.
We're all very conscious of what we're eating. The world is scrutinizing GMO foods. And it's by coincidence or by karma, but I just received 5 minutes ago some articles out of China through my Skype on their newspapers warning people about GMO foods and how many billions of dollars worth of agricultural crops are being destroyed and not allowed into China. So really the purpose for me today, I don't have a lot of time, and I'm never prepared because I already know my subject, but we have a lot to cover. There's two countries right now. We have Mexico and we have the United States producing a tremendous amount of GMO crops. We are all conscious about eating GMO, okay? No one's disclosing particularly why we're so conscious, but I'm not going to talk about the food aspect because I'll go on forever on this. One of the things I'm finding quite interesting is the fact that China finally came out and is rejecting the GMO crops into China, warning the people not to eat it. They had a newspaper article with so many different types of foods that I was even not aware of. So, they're educating the people, don't eat the foods. Well, maybe we ought to look at don't wear the textiles either. Because the last time I was on with you, I showed you the flammable fabrics video. Those are derived from transgenic GMO agricultural crops. Now, I'm finding it very interesting, focused on the food while they're slipping it into our clothing, as clearly shown in that flammable fabrics video. And here's, the good example of corn. It's melting, it's dripping, it's full of chemicals. And of course, it's labeled passes fire retardant tests. Well, that's virtually impossible because obviously in my video it showed how it ignited, and I had another piece of fabric that was completely natural fiber blend that you could not even get it to light on fire. No matter what you did, it wouldn't light. So, but yet our government seems to think that it's okay to label things as passing these stringent mandatory tests. They also are saying that it's VOC free, okay, meaning off gassing. Well, once again, they lied about that too, okay? So what the purpose of the lie is too much of a discussion to get into. But I'm going to discuss right now what's going on in Mexico. Mexico is growing more GMO corn than anywhere else I know of on the planet. All right. This same corn has crossed in the root systems with the beans. The beans were growing up the exterior of the cornfields.
Right.
Like, you know, beans need something to grow up. And so what happened after 5 years? Guess what's happened? There's no more beans. It's a crossing of the hemocellulose. So therefore, the food supply is diminished even more. So the people right now in Mexico are at alarming rates of starvation. Diabetes is epidemic because all they have to consume is this corn that is, and I'm going to be very careful, I don't want to say any names, but we all know who they are. The big agra, big corporations, but they're fooling the Mexican people. They're providing the seed like they do in these other countries. The people that are consuming this, it's because there's nothing else to eat. Their diets are almost 100% corn-based.
Yep.
What is beginning to happen? The diabetes. Every one of the men that work with me down there now are at high blood sugar levels, and more than half are on insulin. And these were healthy, active, health-conscious people that were living in the United States, yes, illegally. They got deported, sent back to Mexico, and one of my dearest soul friends called me the other night on WhatsApp. And I asked him how his health was, and he said he gained over 20 kilos, which is more than 40 pounds. His blood sugar is off the charts. His health is going downhill, and he's only in his mid-40s. So they're feeding this corn to the people. As far as I'm concerned, Mexico is the experiment. So what do? Create fear and say, oh, all these immigrants are coming in and bringing crime and drugs to our country. Well, I find that rather odd because look what we just did. We legalized marijuana, so we can't blame Mexico anymore. We also, our country was the one that developed crack cocaine. So, you know, they're leading people into fear, which is affecting the rationale on what is actually going on. The people are leaving Mexico, coming to this country, leaving their wives and their children because they don't have enough money to buy real food. Okay, and what is real food? We're not even quite sure in the grocery stores, but you know, the value of the peso just went up, but they neglect to tell us so did the cost of food and fuel and everything else, water. So, you know, the immigration issue is not being presented in the manner it should be. It should be the people are fleeing the country so that they can make money to send back to their families so they can eat healthy diets. The agriculture, when the farmer in Mexico is being offered the seed, to plant the crop, then eventually they have to buy the seed. They have no money. What happens? Big Agra comes in and takes their land, and the farmers are subjected to working with Big Agra. Now we have what's called the biofuels. Now, isn't it interesting we're leading the people to think that biofuels are something great? Well, how about we disclose what actually is the material being used to make the biofuels? So let's just say I'm assuming this. Okay, but if we're not eating it, because people are getting conscious, they have to do something with it. So therefore, we have the biofuels, which no one seems to be communicating where it's derived from. Now, let's think about this too. If the fabrics made from the corn are burning and igniting, then us sheep in this country that are thinking biofuel is something that's great, we better think about the fact that it's coming from the corn. And if the fabric is burning at an alarming rate, well, then maybe the fuel price will go down. But how many times are we going to have to fill our tank in a week? So that's an issue. Now, and as far as the textiles go, I highly recommend that everyone take a little walk through in Target or Walmart or J.C. Penney's and start looking at the label. Okay, I guess it was 2 years ago in April, or a year ago April, the Federal Trade Commission changed labeling laws to allow brands to identify content. So we were seeing a lot of labels that said 16% cool max or 16% terylene. And I said, I wonder how long they're going to get away with this, because there is no customs classification for a brand name. So how are they going to classify this in order to create a duty or a tariff on it? What do we see happen next? The brands are not listed. It's all polyester, acrylic blends. So maybe that was the way they bypassed the obstacle of classifying a brand in U.S. Customs. Polyester as a category. Polyester may be being made in China, obviously, but more so in the United States, because in China, nobody is encouraging wearing anything but cotton, linen, wools. So it's a competitive industry, what China is doing versus what we produce in the United States. And I'm predicting we're going to see tariffs imposed on natural fibers again to prevent the imports of those natural fibers. I see the writing on the wall. So we have polyester in our garments with acrylic. Now, men don't buy the clothing as much as we do. I bought a pair of leggings last year because they were synthetic, but I needed to attend a meeting in Los Angeles, and I had to really be put together for this. What was very, very interesting is I put on the leggings, I get on the airplane, and I lean forward and I sleep when I can. Where my elbows were on the leggings, just the abrasion of my elbows was separating the fibers, causing pilling. You've seen a garment where you get little nubs all over the surface of the garment. By the time I arrived home that evening, that garment could not be worn again. Couldn't be worn again. Now, why is it that us consumers aren't taking that garment, returning it to the store and saying, look, this is the condition of the garment prior to even washing it. Now, if you wash it, it's unwearable again. So you spend $48 on a pair of leggings, you can wear it one day, and that's it. So eventually the consumers are going to have to start approaching the manufacturers and saying, create a class action suit. We're all purchasing these products and we can't wear them more than a couple times. You know, it's utterly absurd that you do not take a synthetic and blend it with a natural fiber. You're going to get pilling. You're also going to have in heat, based on the test I did on fire. I did a volatile organic compound test, which means I lit that fabric I showed earlier on fire. I became deathly ill. I was so sick. I sent it to the lab. My lab in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the well-known Research Triangle, collected the fumes that were coming off when on fire. The level of benzene was so high that the lab said to me, you discovered something. Now, how are you going to take on this? So, you know, in the scientists' careers, they say, we've discovered these things, but how do we take this on? Look, for me, I say I can push a boulder up a hill with a pinky, but I need the team of we the people to stand up and at least return that garment. Hold on to your receipts, return it to the store, show them the garment. It hasn't been washed, because when you wash a garment, the care tag will clearly have a visible change to it. You'll be able to see whether it's washed or not. And we all need to be returning these garments. I have a closet full of them. I was going to have them all hanging here, and if I wasn't in my office, I'd be taking my lighter and lighting them all on fire for everyone. Now, no one heard about this fact. In Taiwan, there was a concert, and it was a music festival, and they sprayed a colored dust for special effects on the crowd. Well, that dust ignited from the heat of the lights and people with lighters and burned hundreds of people. That dust was from corn. So we better all get focused not only on the foods, but on the corn is being used in our biofuels, it's being used in our clothing, as well as soy fabric. I discontinued the soy fabric that I did not develop when I discovered that it was a man-made product, meaning there's nothing natural about it. So I discontinued it from our product list. I would like to keep it on there and say, this is the reason, here's a disclaimer. But our epidermis is the largest organ of our body.
Yep.
At least when we're eating it, our digestive system is processing it, and we're expelling it and excreting it. What is happening with it on our epidermis? What is happening when we're sitting on synthetic fabrics all day long? Now, the one part I have missing is when we discovered the high benzene levels, I said, how could it be certified as VOC free? So we tested it at 96 degrees, which was lower than body temperature. There was no detection of VOCs, none. So somewhere between, I would like to test at 104 degrees. Somebody's out, healthy, active people riding their bikes in their synthetic, active wear. Now, between all my legal costs and everything else to keep my business alive for the people and the planet, I can't go forward to this with more testing. I need help. And I believe there's other people out there that have a consciousness that want to know what we're wearing as much as what we're eating. So, whoever may see this video, research money. I need to direct the research. I have students from Brunel University in Germany that want me to help them on their theses and their dissertations. Well, no, I'm not gonna do this. I decided they don't have the experience. I need a laboratory, I need funding, and I need to prove it. Yep. With that proof, then we publish the results. Not having a university decide what they'll publish or what they won't publish, depending on the endowment monies they may receive. Okay? The students are being taught what the endowment money wants.
Yeah.
Now, here's another little interesting factor. In healthcare, what have we seen for years? Poly cotton lab coats. Years and years and years. Now we're seeing paper jackets, lab coats. They're made from corn. So, the situation is really out of control at this point. And if the big corporations don't take note of this, and I do have to commend Coca-Cola in one aspect. They just added a product line using stevia rather than corn syrup or sugar. So, maybe Coca-Cola can put a little research money forward. And maybe in these countries, especially Mexico, where people are really suffering from starvation, rather than rewarding a child in primary school with a can of Coke for getting good grades, how about give them a bottle of water? Or how about creating something other than pushing Coca-Cola everywhere on the planet is Coca-Cola? What are we seeing? The obesity. What are we seeing? The children eating the cereals full of corn syrup and corn. Even our animals, our dogs, are at epidemic levels of diabetes. What is the common denominator? Corn. High in carbohydrates. Carbohydrates turn to sugar when consumed. And I feel that it's important that people ask questions. And I wish we could do this on your show where people can call in and ask questions. I'll be speaking at an event in Vail, Colorado on September 12th. They asked me to speak. I said, no, I'm there to answer questions. I have too many subjects to speak about. So I believe what I'm going to do is allow people to ask some questions. Look at what happened in the United States with hemp versus marijuana. Who would ever have thought that marijuana would come before a sustainable agricultural crop? Who would ever have thought that? Now, I find it interesting that after I made some of the higher level agencies aware of the VOCs coming from falsely labeled American-made textiles, There was no comment, there was no news, there was no interception on this deception that's gone on. So at this point, the government has to start policing the agencies that are actually endorsing these products. We need another party in office, you know, and I don't like talking politics because I have different viewpoints and everyone has a good point or a bad point. But it's really at a point where we all have to start paying attention to what we're wearing, what the biofuels are, and question them. And activists, thank God for them, but get more educated and broaden your subject matter now. GMO foods, GMO clothing, GMO fuels. Now, okay, fuels, I'll go along with that because it's not going to go away. And I missed the point on the hospitals here. I'm sorry. I work in like 24 hours a day, Peter, trying to protect the health and welfare of this planet, the people inhabiting it, and God, our children's future. It's really time.
Yeah.
Stuck.
Well, yeah, you're stuck. I've been seeing you in the froze mode for about the last 3 minutes. I just posted Biggie and I said, she's stuck. Anyways, it's all right. We can hear your voice fine. It's no big deal. Hopefully it'll readjust itself as usual. Anyways, well, I mean, Barbara, the GMO thing is not just running all across the spectrum of the corn. It's you know, the whole food supply. We know soy's garbage. That's poison. You don't want to eat that. But most of the children's formulas on the planet are soy based. And then they wonder why the children look like deformed over. They're getting sick. Next up, I'm in the Sunshine State, and they're talking about GMO oranges. Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm stuck. I see myself.
Mm-hmm. You are stuck.
Does it surprise you?
No. Well, look what we're talking about. Anyways, this is
it doesn't surprise me. And you know something? I'm not afraid of any of it. I have the science. Is this being recorded so it'll come up later, you think?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I'm not afraid anymore. Look, I'm 60 years old. I've lived a very good life. I have a lot of knowledge. And I've got to say, you know, I've heard Trump speak. Now, I'm just going to stick with positive. If he is so against special interest money, then he needs to start standing up against what the real issue is here in Mexico. Maybe he's not aware of it. Look, our economy is growing because we have the Mexican workforce. I have no doubt they would intercept, and if this is an interception from the powers that be, then so be it.
Yeah. Well, look at that, Barbara. Let's talk about something for a second. And he said not much we can do. Anyways, the prison industrial complex. Yeah, this is you know, creating charge. I mean, I just posted a link today on the marijuana, on the cannabis thing. You got people going to jail for 20 years for cannabis in non-medical marijuana states, and they're using them as prison labor. So that's even better than China's deal. You know what I'm saying? But most people don't see they don't see the prison industrial complex and how this works. I posted an article on this 2 years ago, and I reposted it and reposted it. The more people they can, you know, they got a guaranteed incarceration rate of 90% to fill up these private corporate jails. So that's why they're always looking. You got the revenue generation agents working overtime to find some more assets to put in these warehouses to collect on the bonds, on the birth certificate bond. And this crap's been going on for you know, for years now, and it's just getting worse as we go. And most people are unaware, totally unaware. And I've covered this stuff. about the bond thing. That's why I say this.
Do you think I should get my IT guy in here to take a look at this?
Nah, we'll just we're fine. Biggie said there's not too much we can do. We're fine. We just we got great voice, and that's what people want to hear. They want to hear the content and intent. But Barbara, we gotta change this planet some. I mean, most people are totally unaware that they're going to be wearing their poisons when they wash their clothes, and it locks and loads in the fibers after the first wash, the benzene, so they get to wear their cancer. So it's I think we've
I strongly believe, Peter, I strongly believe that China is going to step up to the plate and help us. They don't have the workforce they did in China, like they did. They want to build factories in our country for our people to work because they don't want war anymore. They want industry. And I'm going to tell you another thing. A few things that I was unaware of. Most recently, China started conserving water. So the water that you're using to wash your dishes is now used to wash your toilets and sinks out too. Also, it's mandatory for an hour and a half each day after a woman gives birth to go home and be with her child, plus an hour lunch. So she's allowed 2.5 hours to go home and be with her baby. Our country doesn't have this. They have rejected the GMO crops. They're warning their people not to eat this food. Don't eat the pretty apple. Eat the apple that looks like an apple rather than, you know, some ceramic perfection. And I will say I went strict vegan a year ago. And I wrote on Facebook why I did this. I was in a business meeting in New York City. And I was at dinner, and there was 3 gentlemen there. And as they finished their 3 or 4 beers each, and then they had their bottle of wine with dinner. And then when they moved into their bourbon on the rocks, they said to me, "Sweetie, you have too much on your platter." And by coincidence, the next day, because I have a lot of subjects, I can multitask. The next day, when I was flying back home, I happened to have a doctor's appointment for my blood work because I was on cholesterol medicine. I have heart disease. And my doctor said, "I'd like you to try this Epicurious vegan diet and watch the film Forks Over Knives." Well, I didn't have time to watch the film, and I said, well, I like my doctor. He needs people in the program. I'm going to join this. Now, I was a meat and potatoes girl, almond joys, never drank pop, you know, Coke or anything like that. And what motivated me was the fact that somebody said, "Sweetie, you have too much on your platter." Now, these were pretty top executives. Now, my doctor had said, stay on your cholesterol medicine. Everyone, there's 270 people in the valley that I live in, between Aspen, the Salt, and Glenwood Springs, in this program. When I knew it was a clinical study that was being done, even though I was told to stay on my cholesterol medicine, I stopped it and I changed my diet abruptly. In 11 months, I lost 84 pounds, and my blood work was in the top out of the 270 people. And I did not stay on my cholesterol medicine. I did it.
Good girl. You know, I worked with a guy. I want to share a story because I've seen what these cholesterol drugs do, and they're all a scam. And I knew a gentleman. He was 150 pounds, and they put him on these cholesterol drugs. He gained 100 pounds in 6 months. I said, "Dude, you need to get off that crap you're taking." I said, "It's causing you to blow up." I mean, unbelievable weight gain. But he wouldn't listen to me. He goes, well, my doctor knows best. I said, yeah, he's going to know best. You're going to go to the friggin' boneyard from a heart attack. So you're carrying all that extra mass. But he didn't want to hear that. So, but Barbara, you did the right thing. You intervened because you had a brain, because all their chemicals have absolutely zero efficacy to fix the machine. And so they're all poisons. They're all synthetic. And the body realizes this. And this is why everybody's in this crisis. Because they're taking these synthetics that can't fix anything and never will fix anything. And the Rockefellers have done a really good job of putting their poisons in all the pills to compromise everybody's body.
Well, I won't single out anyone because there's too many that are involved in this situation. But
the Rockefeller Medical School is where it all started in the 30s, when they put the endowments up and bought off all the medical schools so that they could funnel everything into this construct that we are here at 100 years later, especially the cancer protocols.
Well, the cancer is actually the #1 killer of women in this country is heart disease. It's not breast cancer.
Right.
So when I was diagnosed with heart disease, well, as far as we can see, I reversed it through diet. Plant-based diet, organic plant-based diet.
Yes.
All my blood work is perfect. My carotid artery. I'll be 60 years old in April, and I have the carotid artery of a 47-year-old woman, just based on diet. And what's even more interesting is, if I had eaten pasta and bread along with my meat and potatoes, I would have been over 200 pounds.
Yep.
I'm eating more bread, more pasta than I ever did when I was gaining weight. I'm using organic everything. Yep. And I've noticed, because I'm buying organic, that the price of it is going down. More people buy a product, the food products are coming down in price.
Yep.
Organic green onions. I was paying over $2 for 2 little bunches. Last week, I paid 79 cents a bunch. That was almost what percent reduction? But if we
that's
all...
that's about 60%, 65%, 62% reduction, somewhere in there.
And at my age, to be able to lose 84 pounds. And then when I saw this group of men again, they took a look at me and they said, "Oh, do you have cancer?" Because I lost so much weight. I mean, you see me now, I've gained 20 pounds since the loss of that, because I got too thin. I wouldn't even eat honey, anything with eyes, feet, or that was alive in that aspect. I completely cut out. I went extreme. I'm eating twice the food I did. I can eat before bed and not gain 3 pounds by the morning.
Right.
So anyone that thinks you're not it's too late in your life, it's never too late. I have size 6 to 22 in my closet. And this weekend, I purged everything over a size 8 and said, never, ever will I go back to eating animal products again, nor will I eat corn. I won't eat corn.
Right.
I don't even want to eat the organic corn because of what I've seen it do in Mexico. I've seen the people suffering. You know, they have no choice. They have no money. And what are we doing? Locking them out and saying, you can't come here. Now, another interesting factor is we've all heard about Nebraska protesting the fact that Colorado legalized marijuana, and they're stopping people at the border of Nebraska, wondering if they're drug trafficking. Well, Nebraska happens to be one of the largest growers of corn. And they're putting
Do we see a pattern?
And they're putting in a biofuel plant. So why are they protesting it? Because where is the most ideal place to grow hemp? Nebraska.
Yep.
And I've seen the hemp that has survived since World War II out of Nebraska. The value added to that crop will create multiple industries in the US, service existing industries, because it's full of composite material.
Yep.
No need for synthetic composites. The hemp plant contains 85% herd on the right variety, which is a composite. You can make plastic, you can use it in concrete, you can get rid of lime, you can get rid of caustic soda, sodium hydroxide. There are so many replacements that would come from hemp. And why did Colorado amend the bill? It was originally for industrial cultivation, and then in the middle of these discussions, they said for research only. Okay, which in the college's hands. Here I am, an expert for 23 years. Why would they put it in research only when clearly I've been running a business with hemp for over 23 years and Viro Textiles 14 years? I mean, where's the research necessary? That's absurd.
Barbara, it comes down to this. It's all control constructs by the clowns at the circus who think that somebody died and put them in charge, because the sheep won't stand up, the sheep won't become wolves, the sheep won't pay attention, so they keep getting away with this shit, just like the forced compliance on shots in California. You got the numbskulls laying down, and they didn't know no better. Well, now you're going to go line up and get your poison. By the way, and another reason why they won't grow it, they wouldn't if what was the state we just talked about? Nebraska. They'd hate to have to change the football's team's name from the Alaskan from the corn huskers to the hemp huskers. So that would never happen.
No, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I really don't like being negative or scrutinizing. I just want to be better. I want to show a better way. Now, in my town, there's more dispensaries, recreational dispensaries, which is great because the DUI rate has gone down here. Our tax on the recreational is 35% sales tax. So our property values have gone up. There's job creation. Now, the only concern I have about the marijuana, I'm not a marijuana smoker, but I tried a hit about 2 weeks ago, one puff. Now, I don't know how it was grown. I don't drink alcohol either, because whenever I drink alcohol, I throw up. I get sick. I took one hit of marijuana and I was so sick. I was vomiting. I was on a business trip. I couldn't even make it. I was in an RV with some colleagues that came from another country, and we were doing a trade show. They didn't know. I snuck up a puff of marijuana, and here I am puking my guts out in the sink of an RV. I couldn't even make it to the bathroom. So we also have a problem with the marijuana. How is it?
I told you I've been talking about this for a year. I posted the article. I've been posting it repeatedly for the last 12 months, every month. Satan's in bed with down south, growing GMO weed, bringing it into the dispensaries, because nobody's going to get fixed from this shit. You know, it's a sad state of affairs because people are so far asleep. Well, hey, that's why I say know your source. So self-sufficiency is going to become a key paramount paradigm shift for the masses, because if you don't know your source, you don't know your source.
Right, they're using fertilizers. I asked someone that was a grower. I said to him, do you know what would have made me sick? And he said, well, a lot of the hydroponics are using fertilizers and whatever they use. He said, but in the end, at the last stage before harvest, they flush the plant with water. Now, how absurd can that be? What are you going to do? Flush an apple of its sugar, at the end of the season?
Right.
Are we this ignorant? And another thing, when I did use marijuana in high school, I would fall asleep in the classroom. Okay? I was always falling asleep. So we're saying, okay, we're using the word CBD to convince people this is a medicine. It is a medicine.
Yes, it is.
Giving someone marijuana, a child, to stop the seizure. Well, if you give a child a half a shot of vodka, it's going to stop the seizure too.
All right, Barbara. Okay, now let's digress, because this is my area of expertise, because I'm an ex-Navy doc and I paid attention in class on the medical constructs of CBDs, THC, and terpenes. It's a tri-prong effect, and I gotta cover this. When I made that paste in Colorado, it was I knew my source. I knew it wasn't compromised. I cooked it for 22 hours. It was the most potent, dense, nutritional medicine on the planet. But guess what? You can't just do the CBD. It's like cutting away a tomato saying you're going to cut out the terpenes. You've got to have all the constructs in. That's why it's manna from heaven. It's God's medicine. That's why they put a Schedule 1 in 1937. But when I made this paste, I've been taking it for 6 months. It hasn't caused me any duress. Matter of fact, third eye is wide open because it restructures the left-right brain. Third eye opens up all the cells, lets me communicate. It didn't make me, like when I smoked weed, I don't smoke weed anymore. I smoked it in the 70s. Yeah, it made me a Cabbage Patch doll. But when I take the paste, I just take a small dose. And for about 12 hours, yes, I'm in a different energy, and it's a body high, but have total recall, total construct. The brain works just fine. Matter of fact, I get really creative now. And yeah, it doesn't make me like
I can see the difference.
Smoking pot will never fix any medical modality, medical construct. Maybe post-traumatic stress disorder. But see, this is where everybody's missing the whole thing. And this is what makes me crazy. Smoking weed will not fix cancer. But taking oil and taking paste will fix cancer, because you're getting all the constructs, all the terpene. You can't separate the CBDs from the THC and the terpenes. But that's what they're doing out there, and that's another friggin' scam on the planet that pisses me off. So all these CBD promoters, kiss my ass. It really pisses me off, because they're compromising our brothers and sisters. They're capitalizing on them, and they're not even giving them anything worth a damn, because it's only one part of the construct, and it's not going to fix the machine. It's that simple.
Yes, and it's evident, because look at the textile tests I've done.
Yep.
Where I'm inoculating it with bacteria, and the textile itself is killing staph and pneumonia. That's a bacteria. 99.9% reduction in the bacteria of pneumonia and staphylococcus. When we put out the press release, no one in the US published it. I believe one paper in the UK did. Okay, I put out another press release, infrared resistance inherent to the textile. Did it get published in the United States? No. Now, we're advertising the military as a career, and China is appalled at this. It lived through thousands of years of war. It's create jobs and industry. And what was shocking, when I was in Salt Lake City, I went to a little concert in the park. I brought my colleagues, foreigners. They were so shocked at the number of homeless, but the number of homeless were veterans. Veterans.
Yep.
And my ex-husband, who's an ex-Vietnam vet, he's waiting 2 months to get into a VA hospital. Why aren't we spending the money on our own people?
We've got a bunch of whores that don't give a crap about the disposable human resources called the military-industrial complex that worked for it. And I told you about this. They have a $10 million insurance policy on them. They'd rather see them go to the boneyard so the IMF can collect on that damn insurance policy that nobody knows about.
Well, I don't know enough about that. I just know that these young men and women that are being enticed into this are now coming back to no jobs, living in parks, no VA. Well, they have VA benefits, but they're dead before they finally get an appointment. Then there was a hospital being built in Denver, Colorado that went over budget, a VA hospital, but it's going to take an act of Congress in order to fund the hospital to provide health care for the veterans. Now, where is the disconnect here?
Right. Well, you got to understand how the system works, Barbara, and that's the whole point that I keep telling you about this construct that everybody keeps sucking in. All wars are bankers' wars, first of all. It has been for 200 years. Every one of the wars has been a scam. I did a show on that about 6 months ago. Michael Rivera did an excellent talk on how all wars are bankers' wars. As a matter of fact, I'll send you the link. I'd really love you to listen to that. And then that'll give you clarity on this scam, this hypothecation game that's going on the planet. Anyways, Barbara, we're going to be cutting loose here in about 2 minutes. What would you like to share on the way out? I'm going to repost this show along with your Enviro Textiles folks. Support Sister Barbara, because she's, if you're looking for clothing that actually will not poison you, go over, take a look at what she does. It's the best site on the planet. She's got the silk, she's got everything, canvas, you name it. Barbara's covering everything on how to keep the body from getting, compromise from the VOC-laden skullduggery going on the planet.
The thing I want to leave with is I have an alternative to cotton, and I believe that we need to form what's called the INFC, International Natural Fiber Council, utilizing humanely sheared animal fibers, plant fibers, and I am going to say it publicly now, agave is the future cotton. And we need to I need the support to bring these fibers forward, because how many ways can you name a synthetic fiber to fool us consumers? They're going to run out of names, they can't import it, and it's just time. And how dare we send our soldiers into combat without something that is antimicrobial and infrared resistant?
All right, Barbara, we just ran out of time. Anyways, this is a short one. Anyways, folks, hopefully you caught what you caught. Barbara, let's get up and do another show maybe in the next 30, 60 days. We can bring forth some more information and cover some of these other topics.
Well, let's hope so, because I'm not going away.
Very good. All right, folks.
Blessings to everyone, and please be conscious. Read your labels.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. Love you. We'll talk to you later.
Love you too, Peter. Blessings. Bye.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from the CCN High Definition downloads. You can now purchase a high definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN on the air, public funding is needed. Please donate to CCN's Network Support Fund or become a monthly pledger. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.